All righty, welcome back to episode 6 of the Faith Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, Henry, and I'm very excited for this episode today because I have one of my best friends on this podcast. Caleb,
Oh,
how are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Dude, we haven't talked in like forever.
Yeah. Yeah, we were kind of talking about that right before our little, our pre-podcast huddle.
Yeah.
But like nothing's changed, really. At least I don't feel like it has.
No, that's what I love about our friendship is that it seems like we can go X amount of months without talking to each other, but then the moment that we do start talking to each other again, it's like we literally picked up right where we left off, and it's honestly just like perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because we all have like close friends, and it's like, as you grow older, you come out of like oh, he's my best friend. And it's like, oh yeah, I have friends and all that kind of stuff. And I have some other people um who are like that. And, there's like times where like I don't talk to them for weeks or months. And then it's like send a quick text and it's like, hey man, like you good? And it's like, yeah, I'm good. It's like, okay, like how's everything? And everything's like still at that level.
Right.
Um and so yeah, that's definitely how I feel with our relationship. And I think we're blessed in that kind of regard.
We really are. We really are. Yeah, we're in the process of trying to cook something up so we can see each other. Last time I'm the one who visited you, so it's your turn to come visit me.
Oh, you just thought of that in the last 5 minutes, dude. Get out of here with that.
I know.
But
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
just been
true.
ready to plant that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last time it was only you. This time I'll be a whole father. So
Yes, dude. I am so excited. I'm gonna be a godfather. I mean, an uncle.
it's gonna be great. I
It'll
actually had a godfather. Did I ever tell you about that?
no.
My godfather was my father's boss. And it was kind of interesting or weird because he was like, I think he asked my dad at one point, he was like, hey, does he have a godfather? He's like, no. He's like, okay, well, he's like, I can be it, I guess. It was either that or it's like 100% a joke and I'm like so far off. But I vividly remember my father's boss having a 2011 like Challenger, like
Yeah.
SRT, and it was like top of the line or whatever. And I was like, I want to ride in that. And he would like, take me in rides and stuff. And so that's kind of what I imagine a godfather, along with,
I'm
a
none
lot
of
of
that.
this, so
I'm none of that. I don't have any of that. But it's okay. I'll
I
be
mean
your I'll be
the
the
dog
uncle.
will do, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Egg roll, perfect.
Egg roll, dude, egg roll's the best. I have a dog. I have a puggle named Egg Roll. It's beautiful.
The ugliest dog in the world,
Most
100%.
beautiful dog the world has ever seen.
You're
So
okay.
last time before this turns into a get mean on egg roll session, thought I'd change the topic real quick. So I figured first we should start off like how we met, obviously, because we both went to VMI together. And
Hardest school in the world,
100%.
100%.
And my biggest regret at VMI was not rooming with you sophomore year. We were roommates senior year, and it was like the best year that I had at VMI. And my biggest regret is not rooming with you when we were supposed to come sophomore year. But anyway, I don't know if you have any thoughts on what you want to say involving that.
Like the rooming piece or like how we met? Because like those
Just
are two.
anything, how we met. I mean, because I know you're going to crap on me no matter what when it comes to the rooming part.
For the rooming thing, like, yeah, we had like that big elaborate plan with like 6 people, but then like 2 of those primary people did not come back to the school after that year, let
Yeah.
alone the next semester. And so then after that, at least I found myself like, that was not the thing I was putting effort into, like full looking back on it, because it's like, it's the end of the year. I just finished my first year of college.
Yeah.
I'm like lacrosse was dying down and I was focused with that. That was taking a lot of time. Um, and then, just like having the freedoms of like, not being in the rat line anymore. Um, And so that's where I think my head was at for that, and that's why, like, that action didn't go into plan, and so I think that's one of my biggest regrets too. No shade to any of my roommates that I live with at any point, um, but however, I do wish that you would have been incorporated at a much earlier year for
Yeah,
that,
no,
so
I couldn't agree more.
yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Oh, yeah.
You
But
sorta got me at, like, a very interesting like, by the time you and I started rooming together, you sorta got me at a very interesting, like, stage. 'Cause at that yeah. Well,
yeah.
because it's like, at that point, I'd already, like, fully, like, come back to the faith. I mean, you and I were, like, really, like, boys, like, junior year,
Oh,
obviously, because
yeah.
we both did, like, rank and everything together,
Yeah.
so we were already, like, as tight as a knot,
Yeah.
but come senior year was, like, the big, like, phase or the full-blown, like, faith phase that, like, I, like, jumped into, and also you were there when I almost, like, wasn't able to come back. Can't forget about that.
That's the wildest thing, dude. I remember we had that, conversation with probably, I think probably one of my biggest mentors at VMI. Um, Her name was, for those of you who don't know, her name was Command Sergeant Major Rubenstein, and she was the like, arching individual who's in charge for Henry and I, and she was a big mentor to me. I know she was a big mentor to Henry,
Yeah,
and so I remember vividly we had that conversation with her that, like, one day in the middle of the summer, she's like, "You need to get ready to take this command, and you need to focus on getting the rest of your stuff squared away." And you
yeah.
were like, "I'll do it." And I was like, "Please, God, like, get your stuff together, please. I don't wanna be the guy." You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I
But
know, man.
that
And
was
then that was
tragic.
a real, like, God thing that pulled through. Like, the fact that I was able to go back for those 2 independent studies and then come
That was
back
def
and have a great year.
Oh, yeah. No, that was definitely, like, not a working by a human hand because I vividly remember um you went in for that meeting, with people, and you came back out and you were like, "Dude, they're saying absolutely not. Like, there's no way. Like, they're not giving me the time of day, whatever." And I was like, "Yo, like,
Yeah.
this is not looking good." But
No. No,
and then it
so
happened, and your
no, go ahead.
teacher was like, "Yeah, it's good." That's from what I remember, at least.
Yeah. No, dude, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, an absolute godsend. It was truly remarkable, and yeah, that's what really sent me into, like, the deepest part of, like, my faith journey.
Yeah.
But involving faith, obviously, this is Faith Unfiltered. What's your faith life look like? Do you have any? Do you not have any? Where we at, Caleb?
So, um, going back to, like, the daughter thing, um, I was raised in a Baptist household. Um, Not like Southern Baptist, like, full of hate, but like a genuine just Baptist church, like a normal church, whatever you would describe that as. Um, and the reason I'm saying that, and it's because the reason it is important is because, once my daughter is born, I feel like that is a much stronger motivator to set an example, and a precedence that, like, hey, this is how we live, this is how we do things, and this is the religion that we believe in. Um, we believe that Jesus Christ died for our sins. We believe that he will come again. We believe that we have a relationship with him. And those were the values that were, instilled at me at a young age. And that's what I want to pass on. But however, you asking where I'm being at now, very hypocritical of me to say these things. Because I have not, well, no, myself and my wife, we have been to a few churches in Manhattan. Um, Some of them have not been what we thought they would be, and it didn't feel right, and I think that's probably another topic to talk about there.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm definitely not a consistent churchgoer, um, which is something that I have been meaning to obviously do, right? But, um, you know, now that I think about it, you remember that one time long time ago, I was conflicted with something and you were like, this isn't happening just because, like, there's something that's holding you back. There's something that is not wanting you to go. Feel like it's
Wait,
kind of
what was the can you give me a hint as to what the
yeah,
top
you remember a long time ago where I was like, "Hey, man, like, I just had this thought, like, this really negative thought, and,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh,
and I
yeah.
shouldn't I don't feel like I'm good enough or I'm worthy or, like, I"
Yeah.
and you were like, this isn't you. This isn't God sent. This is something else that's trying to keep you away." And you're
Yeah.
like, "And this is the perfect time to go." And it's definitely nowhere near to that extremis of, um, situation, but I have been caught up I have allowed myself to be caught up in, um, the ways of the world, not in a sinning way, but just work, my relationships, my friendships, all that stuff, and I haven't put the necessary time and effort into building my relationship with God. In the church aspect, um, I consistently pray, whether that be verbally or silently,
Mhm.
um, and I think I can provide a different perspective than anybody else that you will have on or have had on,
Yeah.
in this very niche setting. Now that we're talking about faith and where we're at, now I think I feel my faith strongest when I'm doing land nav.
Really? Well, okay, for anybody who may not know what land nav is, can you briefly
Yeah, no, 100%. So being in the military, you obviously have to do land nav, and land navigation is where they give you a map, a compass, and a little see-through box. It's called a protractor, and you set it down and you like plot all your points, which are given to you in grid coordinates. And from there, you read the grid coordinate, you plot it down, and then you make a route or you find a way to get to that point to reach your end state, whatever that may be for fun, to get like checkpoints or to do whatever. There's a whole bunch of ways. But basically, usually when you do land nav, it's on your own. And there is day land nav and night land nav. Day land nav, obviously, you're just like walking around. You're like, oh, cool. Like, yep, that looks like that right over there. Let me just walk over there. But at night, when you can't see anything, right? Like and there are certain rules. Like some places you'll go and they'll be like, you can't have your light on when you're walking. It's like, well,
Oh my gosh.
it's like, how am I supposed to get to my point? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, how am I, whatever.
That makes sense.
And I remember a year and a few months ago, I was in a army school that, you had to do night land nav at. And so I just got here. I was riding the high of, just graduating school, and I'm like, yo, like I'm in the army, whatever. And, I had to do this night land nav and I failed like the whole way through the first time. And they're like, hey, you get one more chance. But if you fail this one more chance, we're going to have to recycle you. And that means you have to wait and you have to be here longer. And it's like, I don't want to do that, and I'm like one out of four people at this point. And I was like, dude, I really like, man, that would suck. Like these other three dudes make it, and then I'm like the odd guy out. And so we do our day land nav, it's fun. And we come down at night. And then all of a sudden, it being Georgia, it just starts storming out the wazoo. And I mean like thunder, lightning. It's just, it's pouring. It is raining very hard, like enough to be like, step outside for like 5 seconds, soaked. And so we're all like waiting there. And then they're like, hey, it's like sports, right? You go to your kid's sports game or soccer game or something, and they're like, "Oh, we have to wait 30 minutes after this lightning strike, and then you can go back out." It was like that. And so that happened for hours, right? So we were supposed to step off at like, when it got dark, which is like 7. I didn't step off until 6 a.m. or no, excuse me, 4 a.m. Yep, 4 a.m. the next morning. So we were like awake, asleep for that whole time. Eventually, I came up. They're like, "Hey, it stopped. You have 20 minutes to get ready, and we're gonna take you." And so we give our points. They sent us away, right? And I'm like, this is it. Because, like, my class, the next phase starts next week, and if I don't pass this, I'm gonna have to do all this again. And the reason that I'm tying this into faith, and I know this is long-winded, but when it is just you alone in the dark and you are having so much faith in yourself, like, for me, I would be like, "Dude, I suck at this. Like, I don't trust myself. Like, I don't think I can do this." I would
Right.
start walking and just be like, "Lord, please help me. Like, Father God, like, I cannot do this on my own. I feel very alone. I feel very afraid. I need your help." And praying and, like, speaking gave me peace. Because at that moment, it felt like it wasn't just me there. It felt like in my chest, I felt whole. Like, I felt a little stronger. And I remember this, like, clearly. Like, I'm running on this trail for, like, a good mile and a half, and it's dark outside, but it's still hot. There's nothing in the sky, so, like, all the stars and moon are out, and it's just me. And I don't see any other silhouettes, I don't see any other people, I can't have my light on, and I'm just running, and there's this open field to my right and woods to my left, and I just remember, like, looking over as I'm running to this, like, next point, and I'm just talking, like, I'm having a conversation with myself, but it's directed to God. And in those moments, I haven't felt like God has been closer to me in any other setting. I don't know why, I don't know how, and I can't really, like, explain it, Like, right now, I don't really have that feeling because I'm sitting here talking to you, I have my wife who's, coming here shortly, I have things to look forward to, but in that moment of uncertainty, in that moment of feeling alone, it's like, "Hey, like, I need you," and he's there. Um So those are the times that I feel closest to God. I don't experience those times often, but those are the most memorable for me. Um, I know yours was more so like, in college, like we were talking about earlier about, getting like actually coming back and being able to
Right.
do the things people told you you weren't able to. But um
No, I think that's fascinating because it's like there is something about needing to disconnect in order to feel God's presence.
oh yeah.
I
No,
mean,
100%.
we live in a noisy world, and, like, I mean, this is one of the things that I mentioned in episode 4. It's like, if you and I were at a concert together and I'm trying to talk to you, you'll be able to hear me, but also you really have to try to make out what I'm saying because you're trying to listen to my voice, amidst all the other noise. And
Yeah.
it's like that's, like, one of the biggest things, like, we do with God, and I know for me, dude, oh my gosh, that's one of my, like, I hate to say resolutions for this year, but, like, my goal for this year is to become, like, more in tuned with the spirit because I dude, I last year, it was good, but it was also, like, bad at the same time. Like, I was so focused on myself that I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to listen to the Lord.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's where I've come in to yeah. No, I have a few examples of me in that as well, so I understand, yeah.
Have you have you ever thought about, like, putting yourself obviously, I'm not saying, "Oh, yeah, Caleb, go do some more land now to become close." Like, no, I'm not saying to do that. That would be
Yeah.
heinous. Like, but, like, have you ever thought about, like, disconnecting yourself, whether it's, like, for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or just something along those lines to allow you to, like, pray or get into that zone?
Not that zone specifically because I feel like that's more out of, like, fear, right? Like, that's more so in, like, the, "Hey, like, really need you." This is not like a, "Hey, this is me coming back for, like, our timely weekly relationship thing." Um, I don't do that consistently, but what I do know is that whenever there are times of high pressure, high stress, or like huge uncertainty for me, like I need to go do this for here, over there, and do this thing. But in order for this thing to work out, these other steps have to be met. But like I can't control these. And so I have to trust that somebody else is doing their job. And so it's like when I'm from going from point A to point B with the whole alphabet in between, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to point B physically, I'm like driving over to something or like I'm physically doing something and it's like, Lord, I hope this works out. Like, Lord, I need your help right now. Like, Lord, just, whatever, whatever. Or like something happens, right? Like, um, obviously everybody in the military is very accustomed and knows well off that, your mental takes a dive and that affects more people, a lot of people, but it affects some harder than others, and so like we unfortunately have the cases of people who make a permanent choice for a temporary solution. Um, that has happened, um, not directly, related to me or close to me, but, you know, in the vicinity of where I work. Um, and in those moments you find that information out when you're just sitting there doing your normal job. It's like, oh, Lord, like please pray for that family. You know,
Right. Just
it's
like
like,
this.
oh, something happens, like, Lord, watch over this people or give them grace and wisdom, you know?
Well, it's
So,
good because I think that there are still a lot of people who don't even do that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
I
there
mean,
are, like,
yeah.
pretty just crazy people out there who just don't have the love of God in their hearts at all. Like, I mean, you've always been a lover. I mean, you are. I mean,
Yeah, no, 100%, yeah.
you really are. And I mean, that's one of the things I value a lot about you is,
Yeah.
like, you try to put on this tough guy front, but, like, deep down, you are a lover. And that's why when you do have your baby and it's gonna be perfect at the fact wait, can I say the gender or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
The fact that you're gonna be a girl dad, I
Yeah.
mean, that just fits perfectly for you. You're gonna be the biggest softy, but then yet again, there are people out there who aren't like that,
Yeah.
you
No, I
know?
mean, that's also fair, but I also feel I don't know. I'll tie that in back to later. Sorry. I was just
No,
thinking.
no, you're good. So, I guess when do you what's been like okay, so what's been the hardest part of keeping your faith steady in the environment that you're in?
Oh, the hardest part,
Yeah.
consistency, 100%.
Consistency. It is a hard
Because
thing.
like, not you're not always gonna be put that's now I know. I was trying to get at the fact that those situations don't happen consistently, right? And so it's not like, you're waiting for all these bad things to happen and it's like, "Okay, like, this bad thing happened, let me pray to God." This is my, like, daily outreach, right? And so, like, there are days that are normal days. There are days that are uneventful, and in those days, it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like, worked out. Okay, I'm gonna go to, do these other things, do my normal job. I'm gonna go home, see my wife, and eat food and finish Stranger Things, which by the way, that finale was so heartbreaking.
It was so bad.
It's so
So bad,
it's
dude.
so bad. I'm crying. I cried like a girl. Um, but then get ready for the next day to go to bed. And in those moments, it's like, you know, I'm not really carving out that time because these bad things aren't happening. Um, and so kind of going to like your resolutionist point, which is a New Year's resolution 100%.
Yeah.
But I think that would probably be the thing for me is, consistency. Um, I do find myself sometimes though where like something good happens and I'm like, "Hey, Lord, thank you." Like I know that's not you. Or I know that is you, excuse me. Um, sometimes I'm driving and it's like, somebody cuts over or, somebody almost hits me or, I decide to stop and it's like, I don't know why I'm stopping and then, a car just comes off or like, don't merge over here. And it's like, Lord, thank you. Like you protected me in this. And I want to recognize. And even if it's not you, I would rather, say thank you and have that faith, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so it would definitely be consistency, is the hardest part, and it also goes back to like the church thing too. Like, um, my wife and I went to this church this one time, and I don't know where this is going to lead the discussion.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it, because we're real up in this podcast.
For real, dude.
We went to this church, and we like it was like, okay, like this is our first church. Like I'm excited. It looks nice. It's got like these nice people and stuff. And I don't really remember the denomination. I don't think it was Presbyterian. But we walk in and we, sat in one of the pews, and some older people come up. They're like, "Oh, hey, like, you look new here." And it's like, "Oh yeah, like just visiting, I'm new here, just want to, figure things out." And it's like, "Okay, like cool." Um and we were sitting there, and then this lady walks up in robes. And we were like, okay, like, she's gonna, say like, the opening whatever, and then we're gonna, sing some songs or whatever. As I'm flipping through like the program and looking, and I'm like, oh, that's the pastor. He's like, okay.
Oh,
I was like, okay, cool. I know I'm about to get your opinion on it, but from my from what I was taught at a very young age, because remind you, like I was in the church. I physically helped my father build a church, and I was homeschooled. So my other social life was the church. So I had all this experience growing up, being in the church, and then going to college and kind of separating away. So I feel like I had a very good base understanding, right, of my faith. And I knew something inside me was like, that's not right. That's not how it's supposed to go. And then I remembered that, and I looked it up, and there's a verse, I believe it's in James or John, just throwing it out there.
right.
And it was basically like, women are not supposed to be teaching in the house of God. They're not supposed to be these people who say the word directly. Um, and then after that, I was like, okay, like, we're not going to come back here, after I had my conversation with my wife, and I talked to, grandpa, who, was all about it, man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I talked to him about it. He was like, yeah, he's like, that's not right. And so since then, we haven't physically gone to another church, but we have been attending another church online. And that's been a very interesting experience. And so, um, but yeah, I forgot why I like said that whole story. I think it was consistency. And so that's one of the reasons why we haven't been consistent in going to these churches. Another church down the street has, you know, a certain flag outside of it that does not go with, the teachings and values of that church. And it's like, I physically cannot be associated with that, even if I wanted to, which I don't, even if I wanted to. And B, that does not go with that belief system, right? So, um, and I have to have faith the next time I decide to go to a church. It's like, man, I hope this church isn't weird, right? Like, I hope it's just going to be a normal church. That's really all I want, especially for my, wife and my daughter. Because once I find that church, right, and you could argue like you're just waiting for your situation to be right, and like you have to make your situations right. Yeah, okay, true. But like I can't walk up into a church and change the whole organization, right?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, everything that you're just saying, the two reasons why you chose not to go to those two churches is 100% valid.
Yeah.
Now, I guess it's my turn now to chime in on this for sure. Um, when it comes to the role of women and the church, I think
Know their
what
place. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
oh my gosh, no. Um, yes, the word says that they should not preach, and I'm right there.
Mhm.
That's what the Bible says, that's what I believe.
Correct. 100%.
100%.
Yep.
However, people mistake that too with, like, women shouldn't be in charge of doing anything in church, which I disagree with that. Now, for example, the church that I work at,
Mm.
there are a lot of females that are on staff. They run the ship.
Oh, yeah.
They run the ship, and if it weren't for them, I don't know where the church would be.
Oh, 100%.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's like our director of ops, perfect. Our director of discipleship, perfect. Um, our content creators, perfect. Like they are the rudders of the ship pretty much. But then you have the priest, obviously, because you know I'm Catholic. The priest is
Oh,
the one
you're Catholic?
preaching. Yeah, dude, I'm Catholic, just in
I
case you
didn't
didn't know that.
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah,
No.
by the way, dude, I'm Catholic.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
it's like within that hour time frame,
Mhm.
as long as the priest or the pastor is the male who is preaching, outside of that time frame, if there are announcements to be made, yeah, sure, girl can go up and do it. If it is anything like leadership position wise within the church, there's nothing wrong with that. Biblically, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just solely like the preaching aspect.
So I got another thing.
Yeah.
So, like, you said, like, other positions inside the church that aren't, like, the direct preaching. So then what would be, for, like, our generation, the most effective terminology we could place on, like, a small group leader, right? Like, women's Bible study. Like, let's use that for an example, or the kids ministry. Usually, in statistically speaking, females are, uh, more not more dominant. They are higher ranking statistically,
Oh, for sure. Look right.
quantitatively,
Yeah.
over, like, just regular schools.
Yeah.
And so if that's gonna be in placed in, like, a church, teaching the young ones, the younglings,
Yeah.
uh, like, I don't see a problem. I personally don't have a problem with that because that's how I was raised, go to Sunday school with Miss, Judy or whatever, and it's like, "Oh, hi, Miss Judy, we're gonna learn about Noah and the ark," you know? But that is a form of preaching.
It is, but I would say that there does come a point where that's sort of like one of the beautiful things about Catholicism is and like that's one of the messy things that can come about with Protestantism, right? Because Catholicism is obviously going to say, yes, of course, do it. Please be teachers, do all these things. And in the Second Vatican Council, that was one of the things that all the cardinals and bishops or whatever like talked about. Like they needed more lay teachers, like it goes laity, priests, like laity is just like me, right? Like just regular people. Like they need more lay people, so whether that's guys or girls, being teachers, being lawyers, whether it's student ministry, like all these different things, like that's fine. Because when the what the Bible's talking about, one of the things that's really important, and like you may disagree with me on this, with what I'm about to say. The Catholic Church is the one who created and formed all of the books in the Bible. They were the one who compiled the New Testament. Right? Obviously, you already had the Old Testament that was pretty much already formed, but the New Testament was needed to be compiled and put together.
Mhm.
So that came anywhere between I want to say I don't now the date I'm probably going to get wrong. I wanna say, like, 380s to 400 AD is when the official canon of scripture was solidified. So that's when you had your 73 books in a Bible. Then, let's see, 1100 y no, 1200 years later, no, 1100 years later, when the Protestant Reformation occurs, right, that's when all these things split out. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because there's the liturgy. In the Catholic Church, mass, the service that you go to, mass, is a liturgy. So when it comes to women preaching, as long as it's not within that liturgy, everything else goes. But in the Catholic Church, there are obviously, like, for example, like, for let's say nuns, for example, or sisters, right? There are some very popular nuns who have gone to extremely big,
Mother Teresa.
huh?
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa is a really good point. There are some, like, sisters too who, like, who went to who went to, like, the Eucharistic Congress and spoke in front of 60,000 plus people, and they're talking about the love of Christ.
And that's not considered
No,
preaching, 'cause
no,
you're preaching the word of gospel, so then what makes that different?
it's not within the liturgy. Basically, that
So it's
hour.
not within, like, the official hierarchy.
So, yeah, it's not within mass. Like, you're not,
Oh, okay, I
like,
got you.
it's not being said in mass.
Okay, I mean, that makes
Anything
sense.
outside of mass goes.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, because there are women who can speak a lot better than men.
100%.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be honest with you too, there's a lot of Catholic priests who aren't good at preaching. It can be
Fair.
rough out here, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's obviously, like, a problem. But in that case, like, girls obviously have, like, the same types of gifts that, that guys do.
Yeah.
As long as
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not done in mass, you're good, you're chilling.
That's fair.
But like I said, though, it's only during the preaching aspect and, like, the consecration. But the reason why I say that too is because it's like we have this thing called a universal prayer. So in a Catholic church, you go to mass and then they have, like, a list of things that they pray for. And normally, like, the priest will start off with, like, an opening prayer, and then
Yep,
the reader will then say a bunch of things, and the
yep,
reader half the time is always a girl. You have
yep.
girl singers.
Scared me half to death when we went that one time. I was like, "What is going on?" No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, so it's really not a bad thing as long as it's within the confines of what the Bible states.
Yeah. But since it was during that time, right, and she was, like, the main leader of it, like, during that hour in the official
Oh, for you
hierarchy,
for your
from my
experience.
understanding. Right, yeah, yeah. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying when you go, like, right.
that's
That's
no
fair.
way.
No, that's a fair, like yeah. No, I can get behind that. I can understand that. So, yeah. No, I don't have an issue with that.
No, yeah, it's a vibe. It's a
Yeah.
vibe.
No,
So,
if it's
do you think when the time comes and you have your baby, like, do you think that'll send you into a deeper state of, like, wanting to become more in tuned with God, or
100%.
you do?
Yeah. Yeah, oh,
That
yeah.
I've always found that part fascinating because, like, I always see young families, not exactly when they first get married, but eventually when they have their first child is what slings them back into church. And I think that's where, obviously that's not everyone, but it's also one of those things where we're made in God's image. So when we have a child, we have this unconditional love for the child, the same type of unconditional love that God has for us, which almost makes us want to replicate that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And also, just a fun fact too, I learned this. If your child sees your wife praying and going to
Mhm,
church and all these
mhm,
different things,
mhm.
your child has a 20 to 30% chance of staying in the faith. If
I mean, that's
your
fair. Okay.
if your child sees you praying, going to church, making that stuff a priority, 90% chance of staying in the faith.
Yeah, most
Because
problems today are caused because there isn't enough fathers either doing the right thing or even being there. So,
yeah,
I mean, that makes total sense. Yeah.
yeah, that's, like, one of the
'Cause
big things.
oh, yeah. I remember, my dad would always lead the prayer all the time, at the family dinner or, like if it's just the four of us and we're about to eat and be like, all right, let's say grace. And, he's like, he prays. He's the one who's like, all right, let's get up, go to church. We're going to church. Mom and dad are equally enthusiastic, but he's the driver with that. And so seeing that example, going to bed, whenever at a younger age, whenever dad would tuck me in, he'd come up and be like, all right, let's pray. It set that example um, for me. And, then I was like, oh, that's what I got to do and start doing it on my own. When I was homeschooled, it was thrown into my routine. There are homeschool curriculums who base their curriculum around Christianity, more so of like the Baptist side. I know there are different Catholic ones and there's some for Presbyterians. Um, but they'd be like, hey, like, at this time, um, this is how you could like schedule your week for teaching your child, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, you will have, this, you know, listen to this podcast about this or not podcast, but like, the little tapes
Yeah,
back in the day, not the VHS, but like the smaller ones.
yeah,
You put it in like your little radio and like click it in. Yeah, dude. Had those. And they'd be like pre-recorded with like lesson plans and stuff of like, incorporating God into your school aspect. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the curriculum would coincide with going to a homeschool co-op, which for those who don't know, it's basically like going to school for homeschoolers, but it's primarily offering classes that aren't available to the homeschooler at home. So my mom can teach me math, science, history, all that kind of stuff, English at home. But yet I get at my co-op, I go to, drama class for fun. I'd get my private lessons for piano. I would do all my musically inclined things there. Um, and so along with that, like at those classes, I'd pray. We would do things about God. We would play songs about God, you know. Um, and so there's two different aspects of that, hitting the religion holistically throughout the week. Um, and that was a way that was reinforced to me, but that function was primarily enforced by my mom. So I had my mom teaching me and bringing in the word of God every day, and then I had
yeah,
my father bringing in like, "Hey, we are going to church, we are going to do these things." He's being the leader in the household. um all of those are probably what you were saying earlier, these young couples that have their first kid getting slung back into the faith, they think back into those times and it's like, okay, like now I have to set the example. So
yeah,
that's very understandable. And that's actually a good an analysis that I have not taken personally. Uh,
right.
just because where I'm at, I don't really, I know like one other couple that is mutual friends with us that goes to church, let alone has a kid. So,
Yeah,
but you see it a lot more because, I mean, you just have, like, a higher population around you, I'm out in the
that
middle of
is
nowhere.
no, that is true. Wait, how many so how big are the churches that you're by?
Just imagine Middle West cathedrals or, like, those just or Southern churches that have, like, the big steeple in front and then, like, the rest of the church and just pews.
Yeah.
It's like that.
So
It's
what,
just
probably holds, like, 100 people, 200 people?
probably, and then you have the one mega church that's, like, the Baptist one that's very famous for, like, all the college kids and all the new people who come to work there.
Wait, what have you been to, like, one of the mega churches?
No, that's the one that I do the video thing on. When I first got to Georgia, I went to a mega church and I stopped going there. And I actually went to I started frequenting a Presbyterian church because the mega church it was like
Too much?
an hour and 15 minutes of, like, everything else, and then maybe 30 minutes about God, and, like, I know Catholicism has, like, their set, like, agenda,
Yeah.
not in, like, a, "We're gonna go do these things in the future years," but, like, "Hey, like, we come in, we do this, we read that." You're obviously know more way about it. I'm just saying it in layman's terms.
Yeah.
But for me, you go to church, you say hi to everybody, you sit down, you do like the weekly updates or whatever, you like sing 3 to 4 songs, you sit down and the pastor talks to you for 45 minutes and relates it to your regular life. You read from the Bible, you see the examples, and you analyze the scripture. So you have like 1 or 2 verses, 3, 4, 5, right? Just look at all this. Okay, cool. I got an understanding of it. And then after that, have a prayer and then send you on your way. And not necessarily like I'm not explaining that in like a check the box, but that's the routine because that 45 minutes is what's crucial and is what we're losing now in this day and age.
Yeah.
Because, that happened at the megachurch and then that guy just started getting political and I was like, no. But then at the Presbyterian, that's exactly what happened. Right? And, like, I sat there, and the pastor would, like, come up to me all the time and be like, "Hey, you're new here. Like, how are you? Who are you? Welcome. I'm so excited to get into this journey with you." I'd be like, "Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah. Let's do it." I'm like, "Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
something deep about that.
Yeah." Um, and so having that primary focus be about God and not about, like, you know, what Brenda's hair looks like today or who's singing or, like, what special guest we have on today, because I feel like now we get so wrapped up in that. And it's tragic because it's taking away from that fundamental 45 minutes to an hour. Like that's for me, that's where it's at. It's like once I sit down and I open my Bible, it's like, all right, what are we reading? How can I start relating this to my life? Because that's when I like, like, oh, I don't care who's sitting next to me. I'm not looking at anything else. I'm looking at my book. I'm thinking about my life and I'm looking at the pastor and I'm listening. And, now it's just pomp, circumstance. You look at major churches, they have all these, like people coming up and like they got the church that I watch online and I really hate it. They got like 7 to 10 people on the stage when they're doing songs and stuff. And it's like, why? You're taking the time that the pastor could be utilizing to speak more about God, about yourself. Because that's ultimately selfish, is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and that could be a very harsh view for some of you, which is fine. Apologies, not really. Because like you go to church to learn about God with other people. The Bible clearly states that wherever there is a gathering of two, is it
2
two?
or more.
Correct. 2 or more people, Christ will be there. Cool. Christ can be here right now, and this could be considered a church. Um, but to support my argument, you know the name of this guy. I don't know because I forgot. But who's that guy that like stands in the middle of a crowd and like people just ask him questions, like the hardest questions about Christianity, and he just like answers them. And
Oh, dude, there's so many.
it's that one old guy, the very famous dude. He's the
Oh my
older dude. He talks like this, and he's like in First Timothy
Oh,
chapter.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Cliff and Stewart.
That guy right there watched one of his clips, and he was like, "There's no need for a church. It's like the church is man made." And I was
Whoa.
like, "What?" I was like,
Whoa.
"That what are you getting at here? Because this is very like you have Orthodox and the Catholics that's gonna really set a fire underneath them, and then the Baptists, like what are we doing?" And he started getting more into it. And somebody was like, "What about the Orthodox and the Catholics?" And he's like, "Okay, yes. Tracking all. I
Yeah,
got
they bury themselves in some arguments.
it." Yeah. But he was saying like the modern day church. Like especially on the Western church. When I think about Catholicism, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. When I think about Catholicism, I instantly think about Europe
Yeah.
because that's where Catholics and then Orthodox came from.
Yeah.
And so I think about that. But then when I think about like modern day religion, I think about the West. And primarily in the West, like all these churches are not focusing on the previous points that I had mentioned. And so when in his argument, the thing that I'm getting at is he's like, you don't really need these churches because you can have like a group of people come and sit down and talk about God like this, have a relationship with him, read the Bible, pray to him, try and further your relationship with and your walk with Christ. What else do you need? You know? And I thought that was that's the extent that I know from that. And so I'm not like making a claim as to like you don't need a church, but his train of thought is understandable to a certain extent. And if it's understandable to a guy who is not consistently in the faith, I think that's something that could be discussed a little more. But I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts because I mean, like, obviously, working for the church.
No, I mean, I think you put out a lot of like very interesting things. I do believe that where two or more are gathered, Christ is present, 100%. From a Catholic perspective, I think that it's definitely a priest that's needed to like perform the mass. But other than that, like if a priest isn't present, like yeah, you and I can 100% gather right here and dedicate some time to the Lord. But I thought one of the things that you said was really interesting was talking about the West. And the reason why I say that is because I was actually having a conversation with Solomon, and I was talking to him about the tragedy that's going on over in Nigeria and with
Yep.
the persecution of Christians over there. And it's bad, as I'm sure you've already seen. And I'm talking to him and I'm like, "Dude, like this is terrible. Like I feel so bad like for over there in Nigeria. I mean, the persecution of Christians are absolutely like it's insane." And he goes, "Yes, and we can easily this is what Solomon says. Solomon says, "Yes, and we can easily see that from the perspective that they are the ones most in danger." But he said, "I think the West is more in danger than what they are." Bro, my jaw dropped because I'm like, "You're absolutely right." Because when you think about it, their faith is so strong that they are excited.
In the face of persecution.
Yes.
Yep.
It is a golden ticket straight to heaven. I mean, honestly.
But the
And then
unfortunate is that they're cashing out. Like, that's not unfortunate in the ultimate grand scheme of things, but the suffering.
oh, no, yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
But they know the greater outcome that comes from that, right?
Yeah.
How many people from the West could go through said persecution? How many people from the West who would commit apostasy and just renounce their faith for the sole fact that they wouldn't get killed?
All of them. Most of them.
Definitely, like, at least half would do that.
I have another
Like,
off branch of that.
oh, yeah. So, like, the West is endangered spiritually, but in other countries, spiritually, they're fine. It's just in worldly manners, they're endangered. From the world's perspective, they're endangered, but spiritually, they're safe. From the West's perspective, spiritually, we're endangered, but from the worldly perspective, we're safe.
And I think what is also in a worldly perspective, you know that saying where they're like, tough times create strong men, but strong men create easy times, and easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Yeah,
We're in that right now.
big time.
And I can tell you from, a professional standpoint, and when I mean professional, I mean work. Um, a lot of individuals in my profession believe that, and it's very interesting to see the ones who have been in the profession for a very long time and have gone through, the things back in the day when we were just kids. There is a huge difference between the way that they live and breathe and conduct themselves versus the individuals who aren't and haven't.
Like, you're talking about the older generation and ours?
100%, because they were the men that created these easy times, for lack of a better word, because,
Yeah,
y
I
you
I
know,
would say what we're Gen Z, right? I
yeah,
think I think we're Gen Z.
mm.
Millennials are the ones that are in front of us.
Yeah, that'd be like my brother's generation, because
I
he's 36, 37. Yeah.
I think I saw something that, like, I could totally be wrong. So if I for some reason get any crap for saying this, it's gonna be crazy.
You know you are. You
I
know you are.
Yeah, dude, because so many people are gonna make it this far into the podcast. Um,
Hey, you never know.
you never know,
You never
dude.
know.
You really never know.
Somebody could be bored. Somebody could be driving right now, and it's just like,
That's
"Yeah,
that's
like,
true. If you're
this is."
driving both eyes on the road.
Yeah, and both hands on your phone.
That's crazy. Um, I've heard people say that, like, millennials tend to be, like, the weaker generation, but Gen Z are the ones who's slowly bringing it back. You're looking at me right now like I have, like, 4 heads.
Yeah, you're kinda crazy. My knee-jerk reaction is that you're kinda crazy in that statement.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I find that so interesting, though, because it's like, there are a lot of extremely traditional young people like us, and it's because tradition this goes into the famous question of all time, traditionalism or professionalism. But no, it's just, like, the idea of, like, tradition is so out of the norm, and that's what young people are seeking right now. Like, that's why there's been, like, the biggest wave of Catholicism in, like, years, like, tens of years, 20s of years, I don't know how to even, like, word that, but young people are seeking tradition, whereas the millennials weren't. But I'd love to hear your counter argument. I
It's not really a counter argument because the more that I sit here and think about it, I think about it in a holistic perspective. Probably not from a perspective that I'm going to directly annotate here. Um, there are a lot of quiet, upset people,
Yeah, big time.
and the majority of those people come from us. But yet they're quiet because they're afraid. Ultimately, that's what it is. They are afraid to speak out because everything that you see on the internet, all the like, oh, this guy did this, this guy spoke out about that. Those are the dudes speaking out. Those are the people, women, men speaking out. Everybody else like sits here and it's like, hey, this isn't good. But they're quiet and they're angry because me wanting to yell at somebody in a social setting because they're doing something wrong, that's not the correct. That's not like I was brought up in a house to not do that. Like, hey, don't yell at random people out in public.
Right.
But they're doing the wrong thing and nobody else is going to say anything about it. And then it's just going to go on and continue. Um, there are a lot of statistics that are like, how do I say this? There are a lot of statistics that are like, hey, you know, this people is the majority. It doesn't look like that anymore. I don't know what the statistics are, and that could be taken in a lot of things. That could be taken in race, that can be taken in religion, that could be taken in ethics, whatever you want to take that as. but I will point it to you from my perspective. In my profession and the people around me, not that I associate myself with, but around me, right? I don't I do not see that.
Right.
I see, "Hey, what time can I just go back and stop doing whatever I'm doing now so I can go do whatever I wanna do back over there," which is essentially sitting on my phone scrolling,
Yeah.
you know? But, like, the people that I associate myself with are the people that you're mentioning, and, you know, you made a comment about it earlier, "Oh, you're a big, be a big tough guy," but, like, ultimately, like, it is true, like, I have a big heart,
Yeah.
and sometimes I hate it, sometimes I love it, it really fluctuates, but with that, there's a side of me that's like, "Oh, I don't need to be social. I don't need to talk to all these people." Ultimately, you know, it's one of the not fundamentals, but it's something people crave. Like, they wanna be like, "Hey, okay, like, you're good." Like, accepted, right? Um, I totally forgot where I was going with that, but essentially, the people that I associate myself with are those people that you were discussing, which are few.
No, that's true. No, you're
Wh
right.
and, like but that's where I'm at. You have to think about this from a geographical place too. Because you at your work at church, you see thousands of people and hundreds of people our age. So you see all of that and you're like, "Hey, this is working." And like you look up some numbers and it's like, "Yeah, man, like, this place, this place, this place, like there's been a rise in Catholicism by like X whatever percent." But whatever you see on that percentage, there's always going to be a opposite and negative percentage.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, I definitely see where that comes into play 100%. This is a little bit of a side note. Have
Mhm.
you ever thought about joining, like, a small group or starting a small group?
I would if I'd be at the right church. But here's another thing. I got approached. I was by myself at Walmart and I got approached by this guy. And he like walks up to me. He's like, "Hey," he's like, he's like, "Hey man, like my name's whatever." I'm like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" I'm like, I shook his hand. He's like, "Hey, do are you about the Lord and Savior?" And it was one of the times that we were having like a discussion and I was like, "Huh, this could be a sign." And so oof, reluctantly, I opened myself up about it. I was like, "Hey man, like, I'm gonna be honest." I'm like, "No, I haven't been. And, this is something that I really been working on." And I got a little more detailed with it. He was like, "Yeah, man, well, that's great. Like, just here, you can come to our small group." And I was like, "You know what? This is a sign. This is something that I should do. I do need this. I should go to this. I have to. This is the way for me to start fixing my relationship with God." My buddy calls me about, 2 weeks later. And, we're chatting. He's like, "Yeah, I had people come knock on my door." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, they were like asking about the faith." And my friend is very like, he's into the Catholicism like you are, 100%. You and him would actually like it. You would probably like to have him on your podcast because he'll sit there and he'll talk about it for hours, which is what he did with these two people. He opened the door shirtless. These two people like looked at him and they're like, "Hey, do you know about this? Like, do you want to come join our thing?" And he's like, "Oh, that'd be great. Please come take a seat and let us discuss."
Yeah.
He sat in his, like, living room with these people, offered them food and tea, shirtless, and talked to them about Christianity for an hour and a half, but here's where things get interesting. As he starts talking about the religion, their knowledge begins to cease abruptly.
Yeah.
But it's not just the knowledge. "Hey, like, you know, where's your church at? Like, I'd love to come to your church." well, we don't really have like a set meeting place. Okay, so where do you meet? And the questions that would normally be easily answered began to start raising eyebrows. Like, that doesn't seem right. Like, you look at somebody in public, you're like, that person, that's not right. Sets off a little flare in your head.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah, that right there. He started getting this feeling. And so eventually he found out that these people are going around posing as, people who are having a small group and want to get and like incorporate people from college and stuff, and especially my profession. And they use that, which really upset me, as a point for money. Because they'd hand out these cards and they'd have like QR codes to like sign up and like support their organization. And the people who would fall for that, they support the money. And then they ask like, hey, and they do like texting me. He's like, hey, like was wondering when you'd want to like link up and like we could sit down and talk about Christ. Cause he also never gave me a specific point when I asked him. So two places right there. And then I was in the mall. I got approached with my buddy who is kind of in the same boat as me. And we were both like, that's not right. And we started talking about it more. And sure enough, the same thing. So I've got people near where I live going around posing as people that want to get into a small group when in reality, they're just after my money.
That's crazy.
Tell me how discouraging that is, dude.
No, that is bad.
Especially like if you can't tell already, like I'm not really that strong into the faith right now. And
Right.
seeing that and having that, it's like, who am I gonna trust now? Like obviously you could be like, oh well just suck it up and go to like an actual church. Yeah, tracking. If it was that easy for me, I would go do it. Just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
But, to answer your question about the small group, I have 100%. And you're not the only person who said that. Grandfather and my grandma are like, you need to get into that. And I think that'd be great.
Well, the reason why I mentioned the whole like small group thing is because I mean, I was super hesitant on joining a small group. I was
Why?
when I came back from school, like
Uh-huh.
after we graduated, I was super hesitant. It took me over a year at Nativity to determine that I was going to join a small group.
Oh yeah, no, I do remember that.
And I may have
And
already
tell me
told
why
you
though.
this, but it's just like I did not think that I could replicate the friendships that I had at VMI. And so I said to myself, why even bother? Why?
Interesting.
So I wouldn't join a small group. And
Interesting.
so it got to a point where I'm realizing I'm like, well, Caleb's in wherever doing whatever with the army. Solomon's in Virginia. The other Caleb's in Virginia. The other Caleb,
Yeah.
Mueller. So many Caleb's.
Shout out to the other Caleb's. Just
That's true, dude. Big
love
time.
the boys. Free the guy. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody's a
But it's like all my friends from VMI are all over the country. So I'm by my lonesome and I'm over here trying to be hard-headed and say to myself, I'm not going to be able to replicate the friendships that I made at BMI, which in a way it's like that'll never be replicated. Like I will not have gone through anything that I have gone through like with you, right? Like we've been through it literally all. And therefore that friendship is a different type of friendship. And
1,000%.
other people know that perspective as well.
Mhm.
But as soon as I realized that, I realized that I was just lonely. And like my mindset was just in such a bad spot where I did join a small group and I have made some phenomenal friends. I mean, just absolute boys
Mhm.
for friends.
Yeah.
And it's just like so worth it because it's like, it's not necessarily all just like, all right, guys, today we're reading the Gospel of John, chapter
Yeah.
4.
You guys go do things. You go to like bowling alleys. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
we
I
go
get it.
bowling, we go to breweries, we talk, we're about to start reading a book, like, all these different things, like, it's so cool.
You read books? That's kinda wild.
I
I'm just
know,
kidding.
dude, it
I'm
is
just kidding.
crazy. But small groups are really great
Uh,
to
yeah.
to do.
No, and I think so I don't think I've told you this story. We were on a break from school, our senior year, going to, like, wrapping up on the small group thing, and one of my buddies, who's also named Caleb, shout out Caleb, um, he's like, "Hey, man, I'm doing this small group. Like, it's at this house. You know, my parents go to this, I go to this. You know, I think it'd be really cool." And, like, I went to his church recently, like, not recently, but, like, on that break, I think it was for winter, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I went to the church, and I caught him on, like, one of their off days where they were, like, more having, like, a potluck thing.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really a whole lot of preaching about Christ going on, and as you, like, from the podcast earlier, right? Like, that kinda set the tone for me. Um, and so I was like, "You know what? Like, I'll go to the small group. I think that'll be good." I was like, "Hey, man, like, what do I need to bring?" Like, you know, Bible, notepad, whatever. He's like, "Yeah, just bring all that stuff." I'm like, "Alright, cool." So we go there and, like, I'm one of the first people there. Like, this dude that invited me did not show up when I showed up, and we found out it was miscommunication. So I walk in with him, and, you know, this guy, he introduced me to this dude who leads it, and he's the pastor, and, you know, him and I, like, started talking and stuff, and they were very welcoming into the house, and, you know, I felt accepted, which is good. You know, all these other people showed up, you know, had this small group, but it was, like, a ranging of ages from, like, me being a young 20-year-old to, you know, grandpa over there that's, like, 60, and, you know, we start talking and stuff, and then it was very drawn out. They were doing some curriculum where they had it on the TV and everybody would, like, look at the TV and then, like, they would talk,
Um,
and then they would, like, look at the TV and be like, "Well, let's see what this person has to say." And I'm not saying that's wrong, but for me and you, dude, you know, we both know that that's not really how we get it. Um,
yeah.
and so that happened, and there was some more drama that occurred at that specific one. I don't know if that was consistent. I hope it's not. There's some drama that occurred there amongst the individuals, and, you know, I was like, "Huh, okay." And no shade to the homie at all. No shade at all. But that was like, "Hey, that doesn't
Yeah, it was a
that is
little
not
off.
a good example of what a small group is,"
Yeah.
right? You know, and that
No, I think that's a good point. I think one of the things, though, that I would also just, like, try to keep in mind is, like, just as human beings, like, we're all flawed, and I mean, like, you know that, I know that, all those different things, so, like,
speak for
nothing
yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and so it's like, nothing will be perfect,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so, I do think, yeah, that is definitely, like, a really interesting part. I mean, my small group's not perfect. We all definitely have, like, our source of, like, problems and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Like, there is a line, and there is a line that can't really be crossed.
Now don't take this in the wrong way, like, I 100% wanna be in a small group. Like, I think that'd be
Yes.
awesome because then I would have my unique profession that, like, you still have those relationships outside of that profession. I have
Yeah.
my personal life with my personal friends that I've grown up with or made along my life, and then I have the small group, and the small group, like, hopefully the end goal is to be not like, "Oh, hey, man, like, you know, I'll see you at this thing," like, you know, and I see you at this thing and then, like, our weekly meetings and, like, that's it. No, it's like, "Hey, man, like, you know, you wanna come shooting or whatever? Hey, you wanna go hunting? Hey, you wanna, like, all hang out together? Our wives can go do these things and us men can hang out and, like, talk about this other stuff, or we can all be
Yeah.
intermingled. It doesn't really matter." Like, outside of all of that, that offers a whole new group, you know? Um, and that's the place that I wanna get to, you
Right.
know? So, I'm with it, it's just the examples have not been, you know, so kind to me, but there are people who will probably listen to this and be like, "That's not an excuse," and they're 100% correct. So,
No, I think that's a great point. Oh man, Caleb. Well, I can say this. You
uh
should be honored because this will be the longest podcast that I have filmed.
dude, how? We can go on for dude, we can go
I
on,
know we could go on for hours. I mean,
but
this
you're
is
gonna cut me off because you gotta whatever. Yeah, man, get out. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, dude, you remember how I tried to like schedule us to film like next weekend? You're like, nah, I want to like take a nap. You remember
Are
that?
you gonna be awake for 3 days straight? I'm just curious. I'm just asking, like, nicely.
Dude, it sounds like you're making more excuses, man. Come on.
Oh, okay. You're right, my fault. I'll fix that.
No,
No,
that's
but
crazy. No,
it's
dude,
been
this is so much fun. We'll have to do this again.
100%,
This is
100%. We
good.
should talk about, like, some more trying topics, some more trying hot topics,
Oh yeah.
especially for our generation specifically.
Yes.
I think it'd be cool.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching this episode of the Faith Unfiltered podcast. If you made it this far, God bless your soul. So, in
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
case, I will see you guys next week. And with that being said, have a great week. Thank you.
Cut.